get back into the first topic we had, which was past self, present self, future self. When you look at your future self, like if you can visualize who I want to be in 5 years, then the question would be is, if you grab your phone and Facebook comes up, or if you grab the tube of potato chips, the question is, if I was to ask advice from my future self, should I eat this entire tube of Pringles? Probably the answer is going to be no. So to me, if you make your decisions based on what you believe that your future self is going to help your future self or become who that you want to be, it changes how you look at the day on a day-to-day basis. Part of the culture of real estate is when you work with a buyer or a seller, you give them a closing gift. It's part of the culture. Yeah, you know that, right?
Yes.
So you buy them a gift card to Home Depot or a bottle of wine or whatever it is. So in 2019, we started a program. It was called the contribution program. So instead of doing that, because I always thought that was like, there's very few professionals that actually give a gift to the client that they do business with. But we made a change, which really got us through the pandemic. Was what we did is we decided that when we do a work with a buyer or seller successfully, we're going to make a financial contribution to a local charity in their name, in their honor.
That's amazing.
They would choose the charity. So it's, as long as it's a charity, we'll make the contribution on their behalf. And as of the first of this year, we've cracked $120,000 in giving back to local charities.
Welcome to Maleeha Shahid Speaks. Our episode for this month is just absolutely amazing because you will hear from an amazing person that has been in my life for many, many years that I go to for advice, and he really sets me up for success. And these are the kind of people that I always try to bring in my podcast, is because they are the kind of people that I want everybody to know about. They are those resourceful people that their wisdom goes so far that the magnitude cannot be even imagined. So Lindsay Smith is a very successful realtor in Durham Region for many, many years, to the point that I bought my home from him about at least 19 years ago. And beyond real estate, his wisdom goes beyond, and I've already said that, but he is a person who I believe is aligned with his values to a very high height, where he meditates, where he reads. I don't think he does watch TV or anything, but reads a lot, and is very attuned to what's happening in the world, but also very aligned with a lot of things. So we're going to start with him today, and you're going to really enjoy this conversation because I could talk to Lindsay for hours and hours. So what we're going to hit at is many things in our lives and how he looks at things, how he brings resilience in his life, how he goes on with any challenges with his life. But we also will talk about a book that he suggested to me, which is called Personality is Impermanent. So welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So Lindsay, let's start with just the fact that I really feel that you're very aligned with yourself, aligned with everything in life. How can you explain more about that?
It's a good question.
It's a very wide
It's a wide open question.
It's a very wide open question, yes.
I think we are all shaped by our experiences, and we have an opportunity as we live our lives to either learn from our experiences or to be distracted through our experiences. So I think what I've done is as I've moved through my life, I've had the good fortune of encountering some real good people that really have had an impact on my life, be they in the spiritual world or the business world, or just I'm also an endurance athlete, so in the athletic world as well. So there seems to be, I've been very fortunate to connect with people that are masters of whatever element of life that they're actually putting their attention into. So
that's awesome. So one thing I did miss, that he has very high endurance. He goes in bikes and takes part in. Please lead me on this. they're not competition, but they're just treks, right?
No, they're competitions.
They're
No,
competitions.
I did
okay.
give you an example. The last August, I did a 24-hour mountain bike race. So I was on my bike for 22 and a half hours nonstop. So yes, they are races.
They are races, so they're competitive, and he has very high endurance. You have something at your home as well that helps you train, right?
Yeah, I have a trainer in the basement. So yeah, in the wintertime,
In the winter.
I spend time on that. But now as the weather's starting to improve, I'm out on the roads. I'm a mountain biker, but at this point in time, you have to be on the road because the trails aren't open yet. So
Yeah, absolutely. So his endurance is very high. When we talk about the 5 a.m. club that people have joined, he invented the 5 a.m. club, I believe. So that's what I believe. So let's start with the first question, because I asked you with a curveball with a very broad question. But let's start with personality isn't permanent. Okay, let's think about it for a moment. I do agree with it because I've made many changes in my life. But what is the biggest misconception people have about personality and change?
well, the book that you're referencing is by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who's the author. He's quite a brilliant man. When I look at personality, I mean, if I said to you, Maleeha, go back 20 years, if you were to look at the individual you were 20 years ago, it's probably completely different than who
Oh
you
my
are
God.
today. So I think a lot of times what ends up happening is, from my experience, is that there are three different parts of an existence. There's your present life, there's your future life, and then there's your past life. So I think what I've learned, and it's been part of the theme of my life, and it's highlighted in this book that we're chatting about, is that in my opinion, the most important of those three elements of your life is the present, because the present is how you, as you live your lives we live our lives in the present. We can look at our past and have our past influence our present lives, but then we can also decide as we move forward what our future lives are going to be like. I'll give you a good example. We all have past experiences, and some of them are traumatic experiences. And there are people that what they do is they allow the traumatic experience they've had to alter their way of living in the present. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I went to a high school reunion. I think it was a 40-year reunion or something. But ultimately what I did was I ran into a guy that I knew from high school. Now, to give you some context, there was something said to him that I was unaware of, and he was upset with me. We were like 16 years old or something, grade 10. And I met him as I was walking up the stairs in the stairwell, and he beat the crap out of me, like literally beat the crap out of me.
Goodness.
Anyways, I internalized that I could have dealt with that as a traumatic experience and had that impact being nervous around people or second guessing what I would say. But I took it as a isolated instance. And interesting enough, I ran into him at this 40-year reunion, and he said to me, "Do you remember what happened in that stairwell?" And I said, "I did." He said, "I have lived with the trauma of that my entire life."
Oh my God.
So it was exactly the same experience. Two people experienced it differently. I experienced it as a one-off experience where it's something I had no control over. He viewed it as a very traumatic experience that altered how he viewed, and he lived with that trauma for his whole life. So I think it's interesting that as we are in the present, we have the opportunity to look back at those experiences, be they negative or positive. And if they are negative, we can say, how do we glean positive information from that we can carry into our present lives?
That is very interesting. You've said two very interesting things, and that's piqued my interest into one. We don't have control over things, right? And
true.
the moment that we realize that, we can definitely shape a lot of things. I take it as the fact that if I don't have a control over this situation, I know how I have a control to myself, or my reaction, of how I'm going to behave, or how I'm going to react itself. But then you also talked about past traumas, right? And I think I talk about this in my book, which is now live on Amazon. But What I talk about is how people are receptive to change, and whether you are receptive to change or not, or whether you have the ability to. Trauma, I mean, I was born and raised in an Eastern society where trauma was lived every
Hmm.
day. But also the fact that change came to me 20 something years ago when I moved to Canada. So let's open this up a little bit. You say that everybody sees a situation differently.
Hmm.
Your experience is different, and the person who goes through the same experience see it completely differently. If I'm going through something which is past trauma, how do I delve on it, or how do I make it easy for me that that trauma just kind of, set yourself free? Is that what I look at it? So how can you have a trauma which is 20 years or more ago, how do you set yourself free at any age?
Well, I think you have to revisit it. I mean, that's the challenge. It's the hard part. If it's a traumatic experience, revisiting it is a difficult experience to agree to walk into. So I think part of it is really, I mean, if you journal, if you look at your life and you say, okay, what are some of the traumatic experiences I've had, and you can identify them, then it's just sitting in silence and starting to revisit that experience and take a look at it. Because when we go through the experience, we're dealing with the experience in the present. However, when we're in the present and we're thinking back to our past experiences, we're revisiting it as a different person.
Yes,
So
that's true.
getting back to your comment about being in an Eastern society, if you were a child and something traumatic happened, you're dealing with it in the mind of a child without the experiences you have today. Now, when you look back at it, you're going to probably have a completely different perspective of that.
That's true.
So, I mean, I think that's probably the thing. And then when you look at the decisions we make today that impact our future it's really fascinating because I somebody asked me this the other day. We were talking about investing, compounded interest, and things like that. And one of the things that came up was, and I had said to the person, if you invested, let's say you're 25 years old, and for 30 years, like let's say you say, I'm going to start saving money. So you don't know nothing about compounding interest. And you say, I'm just going to put $25 a week into an investment account. After 30 years, that's $225,000. That's the power of compounding interest. It's also the power of doing something every week or every day on a repetitive basis that builds the person to who you are. So I think what we're seeing here is that when you look back at your past traumatic experiences or positive experiences, because if I look at a positive experience that's happened 20 years ago, I can look at that and say, is there any negativity in there that I can learn from? Because, I mean, rarely is something just a completely positive experience. There's usually a mix of both.
Yeah.
But as we look to the future, this is where I find fascinating. And that's where that book really kind of comes down to that.
You had said that experiences are both positive and could be negative or in between. Not all or every experience is positive. Can you take it from the top?
Sure. So it's the lens we look through when we think about a past experience. So like you say, positive or negative. And I think part of it too is, Maleeha, is that if we look at a past experience through the lens of fear, it completely alters the memory.
Yeah, it does.
If you look at it through the lens of an educational experience, what you're doing is you're looking at it and you're thinking, positive, negative, what can I glean from this?
Yeah.
Because there's always a mix of positive and negative in all experiences.
That is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had a coach who was coaching me through something that I wanted to make a decision, and I believe I came to you about that of run or not run.
Yeah.
And you never told me what to do, but you led me to my answer. And this person who was coaching me did the same thing. But out of those conversations, something really nice came out. And he said, Maleeha, we all have either our trauma from our parents or some sort of trauma from the past. And what happens is that even though you think that it is what it is, I've moved on, I'm 40 something years old, I have my own children. He said something interesting was the fact, write it down and pretend you've said it to them and set it free, or just at least write it down so you know this is what it is, acknowledge it, and that's a process of setting free. Now, in this day and age, we are realizing and knowing a lot of things that we never thought that was even possible in 80s or 90s. That's the years that I was, getting where I am right now, or that was where my teenagers was in 90s. So we are more aware of these things. We are more aware of a lot of things that attack us and to us mentally. How do you think that releasing something from our past is always positive, but releasing something is very important?
Well, there's two things. First of all, I don't think I'm going to challenge you on that.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think we're overly aware today. I don't think we're more aware today than we were back in the 70s
Really?
when I was growing up. Not a chance, no.
Wow.
Because I think what happens is there's such a level of distraction out there right now that I think awareness is something that it's a prized skill that many people don't utilize that skill on a regular basis. And I'm making
Really?
I am broad brushing the whole community, but I
You're
think
right.
but I think part of it too is that like when you look at so trauma. Let's just talk about trauma because that was where you were going with that. So it's always so good because, as you said, if you journal a traumatic experience, you put it on paper. So you're creating something that's apart from you that you can look at it and you can objectively see that. Hopefully, you can objectively see that. But I think that with trauma, it's like if you imagine a traumatic experience, let's just visualize this. Just play with me on this one. You have a traumatic experience, and what you've got is a little a ghost that's watching the traumatic experience, and it's a witness of the experience. And then afterwards, you have a conversation with that witness, and the witness gives you a completely different perspective of that experience that you never thought of. What we do as individuals is when we have a traumatic experience, we don't have a witness that's there to help us break down the experience and identify exactly what happened. So what we do is we have our monkey mind, we'll just run with it and just overthink it and think the craziest things,
That's true.
So I think that part of it is, but I think you are correct. If you write it down, it is that process, the start of the process of setting it free. So yeah, I agree with you.
I didn't want you to take this conversation to trauma, but I thought it was very good. Because the thing with Lindsay is you put him to the challenge. He will not only challenge you, but make you think differently as well. So I do agree that as humans, we overthink, we overanalyze, and we pass a judgment. And we often enough put limitations to ourselves. That comes back to the personality question. What roles, habits reshape our personality? So these days, we're thinking about the 5 a.m. club, make your bed first, so many other things in order to alter and be much better version of ourselves. What do you think that habits play a role or not? Changing habits.
Oh, completely. I mean, if you look at so if you take habits, if you identify habits that are in your life right now, they're either good or bad habits, or they're neutral. Which, here's a habit that I think I think a lot of people can share this habit: picking your phone up.
Oh my God, it's such a bad habit.
I heard somebody today on the radio saying that the average person touches their phone 200 times a day.
Oh my God, I'll be multiplied too.
So to me, I'm a little bit of I'm a bit of a biohacker in certain ways. So in January, I decided to do dry January. I'm not a huge drinker, but I decided I'm going to do dry January. But I also decided to do a digital detox.
Interesting.
And what I meant by that was I got off Facebook and I got off Instagram and I turned all of the notifications off on my phone.
Interesting.
So we are at the beginning of April now, and the notifications have been shut off since January 5th. I think I've had 3 beeps or notices, and it was Yelp. For some reason, Yelp won't tell me there's a new restaurant or something. But I've had no chiming coming off my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been unbelievable how quickly I've become unattached to my phone.
That's unbelievable.
So you talk about habits. So now that's a habit.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah. So there's a thing, one of my habits, which, I mean, if someone was to listen to me talk about this habit, they may look at me and shake their head and said, that's ridiculous. But I call it selective ignorance. And what I mean by that is there are things that you really need to know in this world. And there are things that
I do agree with that.
all they do is they just muddle your mind up.
Absolutely.
You'd mentioned about TV earlier on in our conversation.
Yeah.
I moved out of my parents' house when I was 21. I've never had a TV in my house since then.
I love that.
So I've never owned a TV.
That's amazing.
So I mean, again, TV is a little like scrolling on your phone.
Yeah.
It can consume you. It's like that. There was what's the potato chip company? The Pringles. Stacked, yeah. So there was a slogan, a sales slogan that said, "Once you pop, you never stop."
Yes, that is true.
And it's true because once you actually open the Pringles can and you have one, it's like a drug that you just keep eating them.
Salt.
It's no different than scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or watching TV with that stuff that just repeats.
Yeah.
It's things like that. So when you look at habits, we can have habits that, and again, let's get back into the first topic we had, which was past self, present self, future self. When you look at your future self, like if you can visualize who I want to be in 5 years, then the question would be is, if you grab your phone and Facebook comes up, or if you grab the tube of potato chips, the question is, if I was to ask advice from my future self, should I eat this entire tube of Pringles? Probably the answer is going to be no. So to me, if you make your decisions based on what you believe that your future self is going to help your future self or become who that you want to be, it changes how you look at the day on a day-to-day basis. And it could be anything from exercise. Like we have I've been selling real estate for 40 years. This is my 40th year. So a lot of my clients can be elderly, and I see people in all different levels of health, shall we say. And some of the people are not mobile, and other people are in their 80s and they're like rock stars. And you have to question, like, at some point they said to themselves, to get to where I want to be in the future, I need to change my habits on a daily basis, be the health, nutrition, hydration, exercise, things like that are going to get me to where I want to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, when we met just when the pandemic was about to hit, not we met, when we got together with my family, we cooked a dinner together. And I was like, you know what, that's such a holistic way to live and connect with friends in so many ways. And what I learned from you is how you enjoy your kitchen, how you enjoy cooking, how you enjoy entertaining, bringing people over food. So when you talk about your past life, present life, and your future self, I see a huge alignment in you that I have not seen in a lot of people. You live in a very holistic way, and none of our conversation is rehearsed, by the way, and we're just diving into exactly where I often think about this, and I think about this very well. I've changed my life completely, and every day I bring something in to change my life. So the one thing that you talked about is detoxing from social media or your phone or notification and everything. There was another thing that somebody had said to me over a year ago. I'm not part of this Facebook group that talks about everything that happens in Whitby. And someone said, why aren't you on it? You should be on it. And I said, hold on. Don't go into anything and bringing someone in to put me in that group, because I totally believe in ignorance is bliss. If something's meant for me, it will come to me as fast as rocket ship goes. Right?
Selective ignorance.
Yeah.
It's a great term, right?
And I think I've solidified that opinion and like in a very positive way, that ignorance is bliss. And in agile society, we're coming back to what you had said, the distractions we have in this century are so enormous, and they are they're distraction for young people, like starting from 2-year-old who picks up their parents' tablets or iPads and can scroll better than their parents. So coming back to this particular thing in terms of distractions, how do you go about your day? Do you plan it, or these are habits that you're trying to change and you bring in the positive stuff? How is your day like?
Well, I am currently training for a ultra endurance event May 15th.
Oh.
So 6 days a week I'm training. So two days out of the week I'm doing strength training, and 4 days I'm on my bike training.
Wow.
So I am a 10 to 5 a.m. get up and have a coffee and get my head going, and then I go down to my basement at this point in the year because it's still the end of winter, and I will do my training in the basement typically. So that's how I start my day. So usually I get it out of the way before I start my work day. And I have a very, very active schedule for work. And I do a relatively good job of time blocking my day so I get the activities done that are necessary to complete. So
okay, so do you start with meditation?
It's funny you should say that, because you may call it meditation. I call it doing gratitudes. So really, it's more of it's me sitting in silence, doing the gratitudes, because I really believe that being grateful for what you have and the people around you and your business and just everything, your entire life, by sitting there and just contemplating that and just giving thanks, it is my way of meditating. But I'm not one to sit there and with, and om. And that's just not who I am.
No, that's true.
A little bit more active than that, but that's. But I mean, I do a lot of journaling. So, and journaling is almost like, it's like mindful meditation in its own way. So.
Gratitude is so important, Lindsay. And I know I realize it, and I'm not going to say if somebody does or does not. That's none of my business. But I'm going to just talk about what I feel. I feel that we're not thankful enough for every small little thing that we have, right? Like the minute that we get up, we can see. The minute that we want water, we can go get water. And just the ability to hand movements. And I was watching a documentary where someone had said just the ability of moving your body is something which is I'm grateful for 100%, and that is something so beautiful you have touched on. Just sitting down and being grateful for everything we have. We live in a society where we have a lot, and we are very privileged.
Let's just stay with the gratitude for 1 second, because I want to share something with you. So part of the culture of real estate is when you work with a buyer or a seller, you give them a closing gift. It's part of the culture. Yeah, you know that, right?
Yes.
So you buy them a gift card to Home Depot or a bottle of wine or whatever it is. So in 2019, we started a program. It was called the contribution program. So instead of doing that, because I always thought that was like, there's very few professionals that actually give a gift to the client that they do business with. But we made a change which really got us through the pandemic. Was what we did is we decided that when we do a work with a buyer or seller successfully, we're going to make a financial contribution to a local charity in their name, in their honor.
That's amazing.
They would choose the charity. Oh, so wow. It's, as long as it's a charity, we will make the contribution on their behalf. And as of the first of this year, we've cracked $120,000 in giving back to local charities.
That's amazing.
So to me, when you look at giving back or being grateful, I'm so grateful that I can offer this contribution to these local charities on behalf of clients, and the response has been fantastic.
Because,
yeah, I mean, if you say I'm going to give $1,000 to a food bank as opposed to giving you a gift card for $200 to Home Depot, pretty much everybody's there saying, I choose the food bank.
Yeah, and the need is so huge. That's another podcast on its own. Where the need is and where we are. I'm very curious. Did you ever realize sitting in your life and realizing I'm not the same person that I was before?
Yeah, I think I kind of realized that on a year by year basis. I'm very reflective, so to me, yeah, I find it very easy to understand or come to the realization that we are different people as we move through the years. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I look at you can look at chapters of your life. I mean, one of them has been, and we've talked about this quite a bit, is I've worked with a shaman from Guatemala as a mentor or a sage that I go to. And once a month we have a big conversation, and she really helps me align my goals, my beliefs, and my activities to keep it on the right path so that I'm doing something that's a real benefit to who I am as an individual. So
that's amazing. I'm very curious. Is there anything that you have unlearned that has changed your life drastically? Yes, you've unlearned to walk away from social media notification. That's huge. But anything major that has tilted your life?
Absolutely. Because when you said that, I'll tell you the first thing that comes to mind. So as I grew up, I wasn't a physical fighter. I've never been physical in that respect, but from a language, I could be very intimidating and very caustic when it comes to talking to people. And I had an aggressive side of me, and negotiating that would come out.
Yeah.
So, working with the shaman, Ileana, we identified that as the archetype's name was Slayer, and that was something that was part of my personality. It took about a year to unlearn, and I didn't unlearn it. I mean, so I understand what you're saying, unlearning. What I did was, I came to understand where that part of me came from, that Slayer part of me, and what I did was I really contained it and reduced it to a tool in my toolkit. It's still part of who I am, but I actually take it out when I need it now. Whereas before, it would come out on its own. If I got ticked off with somebody and it was going, it would be, you'd see the bad side of me. Now, it's more controlled and it's more effective because as you control aggression, it becomes a valuable tool, actually. So it's not really aggression at that point. It's more just a directed energy.
Yeah, I've been told I'm aggressive, and I think I am because I just want to lay it out there. I don't want to mince my words. I don't want to tell people, just be shy about it. I just put it out there. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not shy about putting things out there. But you know what? I think I've got the 5-minute marker a long time ago, but this conversation is so amazing. So I'm going to ask you one more thing. In the society that we live in, in the society which comes with a lot of distraction, the war going on right now, our own national challenges, in order to be our best self as humans, as who we are, what would be the one thing that you would tell people that would really align them or bring them some sort of relief from the uncertainty around us?
It's a good question. Well, I think that the only thing we truly have control over is our thoughts, ourselves and our thoughts.
Yes.
So to me, I would say, I mean, when it comes, like you said, there's a war on the go right now. There's several wars on the go.
Yeah.
There is economic strife out there. But I think that if you isolate yourself from the things you have no control over, and what it does is it frees you up to be able to spend your energy on what's truly important to you. And to me, it's family,
Yes.
my partner Wendy. It is It's my business. It's the clients that I deal with. It's all of the things that I have a positive control over. I don't mean, when I say control, I'm not a controlling person, but I'm just saying what I have the ability to influence in a positive manner. There's very few things in all of our lives that we have. Family, friends, the relationships we have, the true things that are valuable to you. Those are the things that when you start to invest in that, everything else kind of, it changes your perspective, because you again, you're not spending time worrying about something that you have zero control over. But here's another interesting thing that I've heard. There is a huge amount of people now returning to churches, mosques, synagogues. And I think what it is because people they're wanting community. They're wanting that, the mingling, that they want to build relationships again, because with the distractions of social media and picking up our phone and all things like that, they want something that's real in their lives. And I think that's amazing. And I am not aligned with any church. I'm super spiritual. But I think it's amazing that people now are starting to look towards that to get back into community, because I think it's critically important.
It is, and with the way that life is right now, with mental health on such a huge crisis right now, and with so many other people going to addictions, unfortunately, I think some sort of a base, whether religious, spiritual, something to hold on to, something to have people around you, asking for that connection is such a beautiful thing. I think we have ended up this podcast with a very positive note that people are trying to find connection.
So you know what else they're trying to find? They have to have hope.
Yes.
They have to have hope
Absolutely.
that the future is going to be a good thing for us. And I think that and I'm not going to say just organized religion, but I think that community, positive community, helps you envision that there's hope for the future.
I think that's exactly what it is. People are looking for hope, myself included.
Mm-hmm.
I always look at the glass half full, always. And I absolutely, and you and I align so well because we're just positive people. We want to see life, our community, people around us, our gathering spaces to be positive. And that's why we've continued with this friendship, because we are like that. Mm-hmm. Lindsay, I know we are ending this podcast, but I would want to let you talk to the audience and just say a final word, please.
Final word. I would say one of the things that I've learned in my life is that, and this came from a mentor of mine. His name is Dr. Fred Gross, rabbi, 86, 87 years old now. Mm-hmm. I've learned so much from him. But one of the things that he has taught the people that follow him are, you're born with two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Everything else is taught. Wow. So as we grow up, all of our beliefs, all of our values, all of our habits, everything is learned and you've agreed to. Yeah. So if I was to say one thing is, take a look at what you're doing, what your beliefs are, and what your morals are, and what your habits are, and ask yourself, are they aligned with who I want to be in the future? And if they're not, change them. Because we can. All we have to do is decide.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful. Well, folks, you have heard from Lindsay today. How beautiful is he, right? Like, you want to hear more from him. And that's how we have connected for so many years, because I really feel that he has such wisdom to share. And you know what? Please let me know whether you want him again. And I promise that the podcast will start on time. But the fact is, see how aligned he is to his wisdom of hope. And that's all we are looking for these days. We're looking for hope to have a better society, so we leave a better community for our generations to come. And I always look at it that way. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. You're leaving such amazing feedback for me that I'm improving every single month and every single episode. So thank you so much. Please do all the good things, which is like, subscribe, but please leave your feedback. I would love to hear from you whether you want Lindsay to come back and we keep on talking. Thank you so much. Wow. Really appreciate it. It was awesome.